So we get to the Satanic temple. There's tons of people there. We're walking around it and we're praying. And then we go into the room that they have the Baphomet statue, which if you don't know who Baphomet is, he's like the goat god that a lot of Satanists and witches, he's a big symbol of like perversion. And they have this big statue that has 2 children on it and then has him. And you can actually sit in his lap, which I didn't sit in his lap. Well, right there in front of everyone, my friend is like, let's take communion. He's like, but I'm going to do it in Hebrew. So he starts praying in Hebrew for communion. So people have no idea what we're saying. Probably think he's doing witchcraft or something. And we take the body and then we take the blood. And I hear the Lord say, I want you to lay hands on the statue. So I lay my hands on the statue and I just pray against it. And then towards the end, my friend told me, go outside. He's like, I'm going to do something. And he's like, I feel like because you live here, you should not do it. He's like, I know you're going to want to, so go outside. And I was like, okay. So I was obedient. I went outside and I waited for him. And of course I'm sitting there thinking like, oh man, he's doing something cool. He's doing something cool that could get him in trouble. And I want to do it too. Well, he comes back out and he's like, let's leave. And he's not like, hurry, leave, but he's like, let's kind of leave. So we start leaving. We start walking and I just look at him like, what'd you do? He's like, well, I prayed over that communion. And he's like, I got some of it in my mouth and I swished it around and I spat all down the back of the Baphomet statue.
Welcome to the Will Andrew Smith podcast. Today, my guest is a connoisseur of black metal, a lover of kittens, and he is also the Exorcist of Salem. Nicholas Helmich, thank you for joining me in my humble abode. Studio/living room.
Looks great in here. Looks a lot different.
So truth be told, Nick and I are good friends, and it didn't take me very long to learn that Nick loves to cast out demons. Now, the funny thing in the charismatic world is we refer to it as Deliverance, but it's kind of a funny joke title almost that we refer to Nick as an exorcist.
Well, living in Salem, I feel like that actually gets the point across, which, we'll touch on all that. But when you use the term deliverance, people have no idea what you're talking about. They're like, deliverance, like delivery? Like, what do you mean? You say exorcism or exorcist, it really perks up their ears and they're like, oh my gosh, because they get that, they understand that concept of like a spiritual cleansing or removing something.
It was literally probably the second thing you told me. It's like, hi, my name's Nick. I'm looking to start a deliverance ministry. And I was like, well, that's interesting. I don't hear that every day. Tell me more. What is deliverance to you?
Deliverance for me, I think it's shifted over the last years. I believe when I was younger and I had been first exposed to all this, my mindset was just like, oh, well, with Jesus, I can cast demons out of people and people get better. But I'd say over the years, I think the shift on Jesus has been just a greater emphasis of just deliverance should be the encounter with Jesus, that when you encounter Jesus, darkness should leave. Yeah.
Can you tell me about, actually, have you gone through deliverance? What was that like for you?
I have definitely gone through more session style deliverance, if I know.
Have you ever had a demon cast out of you?
Not that I know stuff has left. I absolutely know that I've had demonic stuff leave me or come off of me before, but I've never manifested, if that's what you're talking about. So I've never had a demon come to the front and speak out of me or anything. But
which that goes to the difference in terminology that often gets lost with Christians because we kind of use a grab-all term called demonized rather than demon-possessed because it's just, look, demons around, in, out, whatever they need to go. Yeah. And so whatever capacity they have influence on you or other people, we just need to bind them and kick them out.
Yeah, no, that you hear that a lot in the church, especially in deliverance ministries or whenever like someone's first learning about stuff. They're like, oh, it's Christians can be oppressed, not possessed. And of course, doesn't take very long to a couple Google searches, and you're like, the word demon possessed was never in the manuscripts of the Bible. It was just demonization. That was like the term.
Yeah, it seems like a better translation of the word.
Yeah, it's just to be under the influence and like kind of controlled by a demon, but you weren't owned by the demon. The word possession, I think a lot of times kind of starts making people think they're like owned. So when someone's like, oh, I can't have a demon, I'm a Christian, like I'm not possessed by the devil. It's like, no, you're not. You're owned by Jesus, which is exactly why those demons shouldn't stay.
And that is probably one of the most detrimental beliefs, is that a Christian can't be possessed or they can't be demonized. And, for comfort's sake, I think, what's the term, oppressed? You can be demonically oppressed if you're a Christian. Either way, you need to be aware that the demonic is real, and they're quite numerous, and they like to talk, and they like to try to get a foothold any which way they can. So by being aware of it, it gives us a better opportunity to understand how to get the influence out. But if we're not aware of it, then how are you going to confront it?
Yeah, and that's where you find a lot of deliverance ministries. It feels like they feed off of the fear more than Jesus. And it just seems like the end goal should be that you're free. I always say Christians can have demons. I don't think they should have demons. And I also believe that, like people tolerate stuff too much. There's so many people that have, I meet that they struggle with depression. They struggle with things like sicknesses and just all this mental illness and stuff. And they kind of just throw that Job card out. Well, I'm just meant to suffer, And I'm like, you can find like a direct biblical example of how that's a demon, right? Like, let's just get rid of it. And like, oh, no, that's not possible. So you're just going to remain, in bondage your whole life because you're giving demons excuses. And I feel like that's what America has kind of done. And I'm not against medication. I'm not against therapy. I think those are all very important things. But I think that we have neglected actually just casting demons out and trying to heal trauma. But I feel like now everyone uses it as like an identity. Oh, I've got this symptom. Oh, I've got this. I've got that. And when you wear something as a badge of honor, as identity, well, it's going to be ingrained into your identity. So then it's not going to leave. So then when someone comes up to you and says, hey, what you're doing and what you have is actually, you don't have to tolerate and the Lord can set you free, it actually offends people because people feel like you're attacking them. And I've dealt with that a lot when I'm trying to minister to someone who's having a problem and you're like, hey, Jesus can set you free from that. And they're like, you can see there's like an internal struggle where they're like, I don't know if I want to be set free from that because that's kind of who I am. Yet they struggle with it. So
it can also be an indictment on who you are. Like they might confuse, oh, I can't have a demon because I am then in violation of something.
Yes.
But that's something for any of us to be free of any sin. We have to like confess that our sin is in existence and humble ourselves and say, no, Jesus is the only one that sets me free. And the only way that I can remain free is to take on his righteousness.
Well, yeah, and that's one thing to know, that if you're a Christian and you have like demons, let's just say for the sake of it, you've got demons in you and you love the Lord and tomorrow you get hit by a car, you're not going to hell. Like the demons are not going to follow you to or up to heaven like that. That's just not how that works. The demons don't own you if you're owned by Jesus. It just means that I think so many people go through life and they don't recognize actually that their struggles are demonic because we're taught in such a young age, which it seems to just be the Western world. The Western church really likes to teach, oh, Christians can't have demons. Christians can't have demons. And and I don't know where that started or why that started, but you don't see that in a lot of the other parts of the world. You go to Africa and you say Christians can't have demons and they're going to laugh at you. They're like, well, then what do you do with them?
Can you take me back and walk me through your earliest experiences with the demonic, or how did you get into deliverance ministry from the beginning? Like what did that look like?
Well, I grew up in the AG, Assemblies of God, and I always believed in the demonic. I believed in exorcisms, but we never saw any. I saw some people get like physically healed, see things like that happen once in a while. But I also had a mom that was very fearful of the demonic, and she had demonic dreams all the time. She would describe them to me. When you describe them to your young children, that's probably not a very smart idea in hindsight, because then your kids are like, become fearful when thinking that they're going to encounter a demon, which, well, I have always had a natural desire to be around spooky, dark stuff. And whatever I did. Anyone that knows me can tell you that, especially you. And so, when I was 16, I woke up one day and I heard the Lord say, you're going to be in full-time ministry and you're going to be an exorcist. And at the time, you're just like, I don't know what to do with that. But that's like, it was on my heart. And I felt like I was like indirectly pursuing ministry. And I didn't know how to do it. The only way I knew how to do it was through playing music. And I played in Christian metal bands, hardcore bands. And that was a lot of my, people I looked up to at the time, Christian metal bands like For Today, Sleeping Giant, Impending Doom, these bands of Christian guys that were playing aggressive music and would boldly preach the gospel. Well, I did that for a couple years. Then when I was 18 years old, I was hanging out with my band, and we were in a room. There was about 5 of us in the room. And there was a guy I had known for about 2 years, and he was sitting on the floor, and he was just minding his own business. And keep in mind, I know a couple of these people, they had played with like Ouija boards. They were very intrigued by the occult. And he's sitting there, and then randomly, he's on his phone, and he drops his phone. His eyes get wide, like he's scared of something, and he covers his ears. And then I couldn't see with my eyes, but something grabbed him and threw him across the room. He flew across the room, crashed into a bookshelf, fell down next to a drum kit. He's convulsing. And the girl in the room ran over, and she started touching him, and she was like, oh my gosh, do we need to call an ambulance? And there was just something in my spirit. That's the only thing I could describe it as, my spirit, that said, you should touch him. So I said that out loud. I was like, let me touch him. And I reached down as this guy's convulsing, and I touch him, and he stops convulsing. He turns around and he stares at me from the ground, and he screams at me directly, do not touch me. And he stands up, because we all freak out. He stands up, we all back up. He grabs both my arms, and he starts to tell me that he's going to kill me and everyone in the room. And in that moment, it's like everyone unanimously just clicked, like, we know what this is. Even, I think some of them didn't even really believe it at the time. But I just started praying. I don't even remember exactly what I prayed. I think I said something like that he had, the devil has no power here, that Christ has all the power. And I broke out of his arms, and his grip was like insanely strong, but I broke out of his arms. I put my hand on his head, and he collapsed. We put him on the bed. And, thinking about this is it's like surreal. It's like straight out of a movie. It was still one of the wildest experiences I've ever had. But we put him on the bed, and he couldn't move. He could only look, and he could only talk. He could not move his body. And I asked him what his name was, and he said his name was Sam. And when we talked to him for a little bit longer, we started connecting the dots that it was like Samhain. He would refer to like Samhain, which at the time I didn't know what it was until I looked it up. And that's like I know it's pronounced another way in like the actual language, but it's like the Celtic demon of Halloween, and like the Halloween festival. The festival of Samhain. It's kind of what Salem basically celebrates. And then I laid my hands on him and I prayed, and then he came to. And when he came to, he looked around, he was like, what happened? Where am I? He's like, I remember smoking a cigarette in the garage, and then I blacked out. What happened? So it's a wild experience, which about a week later, I don't think it left, because a week later, or it just could, not demons are, they could just come right back. A week later, I get a call about 1 a.m., and I was playing video games at the time, so praise God I was awake. But I get a call from a friend, and they're like, freaking out. They're like, he manifested a demon again, and he touched another guy, and the other guy started manifesting. So I drove there at 1 a.m., about 15 minutes, and I get there, and he's fine. When I get there, the guy who originally I had prayed over, he was fine, but there was another guy on the sidewalk, next to the sidewalk, and he is actually scratching at the ground, And when he sees me, and this is also another guy that I know this guy really well. So this was not this person talking. They looked at me and they said, "Oh, he's here." And then I sat down with him and I was like, "You need to leave." And it started telling me it didn't want to leave. And I remember I laid my hands on it and I commanded it to leave. And then he came to, and he says he remembers playing beer pong, and he remembers the other guy randomly grabbed his ankle in the car, and then he blacked out. So
that's wild. So that would indicate like a transference?
I think so. I think there was some type of transference that, well, you know, you've got these unbelievers who are doing drugs and alcohol and partying and who knows what they're practicing knowingly or unknowingly. I think demons can just kind of go whoop, whoop through those people.
So that experience made you very aware that not only is the demonic very real, but it affects people in pretty tangible, wild ways that could really destroy lives and relationships.
I mean, it felt straight out of Hollywood, what was happening.
So is that what spurred your desire to learn more? I mean, you said that the Lord woke you up one day and told you that you were going to be an exorcist. And that's after that, all these things played out?
Mm-hmm. 2 years after.
So how did you go about pursuing that calling on your life since those events?
Since after those events, I sat on it and I prayed and I didn't know what to do. And I just read the word. And then about 2 weeks after those events, I was at a skate park and I had two young guys come up to me and they gave me a gospel tract, and I started talking to them and figured out they basically ran like a house ministry, house church that was like 15, 20 minutes away from where I lived. And I started to hang out with those guys and I helped them somewhat run that ministry for a while. I'm still actually good, close, like friends with those guys. And we would have people, when I told them my experience, they weren't shocked. They're like, "Oh, we have that happen in our house." And this ministry in McKinney, Texas, at a house, we would have anywhere from 5 people show up to like almost 50 people would show up on like a Tuesday night. And people were getting hit in the spirit. And we were young and stupid, and we had no idea what we were doing. We had a lot of legalism in us, and we didn't realize it. But we'd have people manifest demons. And at the time, you know, we're in experience where we're like trying to like hold them down. We've got people, remember a kid manifesting, trying to get violent, and everyone started grabbing him and we're praying, and he starts screaming, "Get him off me, get him off me." Yeah, and just wild stuff was happening. And they introduced me to Frank Hammond, Pigs in the Parlor, one of the first deliverance books ever, probably in like the Pentecostal more movement. And then I also started reading Derek Prince. And the first book I read by him was "And They Shall Expel Demons." I would say that book in particular really opened my eyes. And so I helped them out with that stuff for a few years. During that time, I also, even with one of them, I went to like a year of Christ for the Nations Institute, CFNI in Dallas. And I was actually mentored by the guy who ran the Ministry of Jesus class, who is, his name is Dr. Carol Thompson. He's passed away in 2016. But yeah, it was wild just getting to be at that school. And I had the opportunity where I no longer went to lecture. He told me I just went up to his class and I would watch him pray for students and like faculty people. And people would come in with just demonic junk, and he didn't even take long. He would just like lay his hand on him and pray really quickly, and people would leave. And I even have a testimony with him where I had migraines. I had intense migraines that were making me leave class. I would get them, and they would cause me where I actually had to leave class, and I would like go throw up. And I told him I was having these migraines, and he walked up to me when I told him this one time, and he just said, "Migraines are a curse." And he laid his hand on me, and he shook my head and just said, "Break." And he walked away. Stopped getting them. I didn't question the man after that. So yeah, it was.
So from Dallas, you made your way to Austin. Was there anything in between that? How'd you feel the stirring to come to Austin?
Well, I was in Dallas and I was doing that, and I was also helping out a church somewhere in Grand Prairie, and I went through a lot of life changes. I had a lot of life stuff happen, and I had very much up and downs. And I had a couple years of not doing ministry, probably about 3-4 years of not really doing ministry, but I felt that tug. And I actually during that time felt repulsed by Deliverance, because if anyone sent me anything on it, I had that stirring where I was like, I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm not doing it, and I don't want to think about it. So
you were in rebellion.
Yes, I felt the Lord every day, just poking me, just like, wake up, wake up, wake up. And I was in rebellion for a few years, and I actually got very depressed. I got very suicidal, and I remember talking to the Lord, and the Lord was like, you're either going to move to Austin, Texas, which I had made a friend online. In my depression, I made a friend through a video game who's still now one of my best friends, and he offered for me to come live with him. And he felt like the Lord wanted me to move to Austin to live with him and to jump back into ministry. So I remember praying, and I heard the Lord say, you're either going to move to Austin, Texas, or you're going to kill yourself. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to be obedient. And I got in my car and I drove to Austin, Texas. And when I hit about the Austin limit line, when I got into Austin, I felt all that depression and suicide and anxiety that I've been feeling for years just zapped away.
Wow.
No one prayed for me, nothing. It just zapped away. I showed up to his house, and I mean, you know him. You can ask him yourself. He literally said, you are a different person. What happened? I just said, I don't know. I guess I just feel like free. And
that's interesting. Do you think there was any kind of territorial dominion with that?
I think the combination of being...
Or is it obedience?
I think it was a combination of being obedient and maybe territorial. You know, I don't know exactly how that works. I'm not going to go write a book on it, but...
So after you got into Austin, you started getting involved with Deliverance ministry, right?
Yes, I got involved with the Deliverance ministry immediately. And then I got a job shortly after that as a youth pastor at a church. And I can tell you what, I didn't really do much youth pastoring. My evaluation literally by my pastor at the time, he's like, you know, you've started taking people through Deliverance here, because he greenlit me to do that. He's like, you're doing Deliverance ministry for the people in the church and people in the local area. You know, you're doing amazing with that. The unfortunate part is that's not your job. It was like, if we need to change your job, we might need to discuss that. But youth part, non-existent. And I learned very quickly I was not a youth pastor.
That was not your passion. Your passion was to cast out demons. So just a backstory. You had this, just this strange idea that was in your head for some reason. You're like, I want to go to Salem, Massachusetts on Halloween and go do street ministry.
Yeah, it happened about mid-year. I had this idea. I believe now it's from the Lord. Like, I need to go to Salem, Massachusetts during Halloween, and I need to go do ministry. And funny enough, at the time, I didn't even know what I was going to do. But in between that, trying to pray and build up to that time, I made friends with a guy that taught me how to do ministry towards people who are in New Age and the occult and witchcraft. And
tell me about that type of ministry in particular, because it's got a kind of a certain aesthetic tactic, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, there's many different forms it can take. The form I do is I have a big sign that says free spiritual encounters, and it has a list. It has dream interpretations, curse breaking, and healing. And before I go out, I will always pray over the sign, and I'll ask Jesus to bring me exactly who he wants me to meet. And I will have people who read the sign and are interested. I'll have people who don't even read the sign, but they just felt drawn to me. And they're like, what is this? I just felt led to come talk to you. And people come up, and funny enough, most people that I know that do this ministry usually get dream interpretations and like prophetic word type stuff. Usually people who are wanting answers. I get those once in a while, but most of the people that I have come up to me, especially in Salem, come up to me and tell me they're cursed, which is fine with me. I have no problem with that. It happens at coffee shops when I don't even have a sign. People will just start telling me they feel cursed. So they come up to me and they'll say, I feel cursed. What is this? And sometimes there's a touristy feel to them and they're just kind of intrigued. And then sometimes there's like a desperation, like there's something deep and you know that this is just a divine appointment. And I will tell them I work with the Spirit of truth, which we know in the Gospel of John, it says the Holy Spirit is the Spirit of truth. So I'll say, I work with the Spirit of truth. He is the most powerful spirit ever. He makes the spirits that the psychics work with on the street look like nothing. They're ants. They're so microscopic compared to this spirit. And I'll say that he, when he comes, he brings absolute healing, absolute freedom, absolute truth. And people will, they'll actually get scared. And I've actually seen people who I know practice witchcraft get scared by how I describe this spirit, and they walk away. And one would say, maybe you need to be careful about that, but that was a word I got from the Lord when I first moved there. He told me, never downplay me, never put me in this, never talk like I'm in the same leagues as these other spirits. Like just absolutely like blow the roof off with how big I am and how strong I am. And, you know, it works because people come up and you'll have those people that just know there's something divine in that moment and they'll agree. And usually what I'll tell them is, I want you to take a step forward physically in agreement. So they'll take one step forward and I'll have them hold their hands open and I'll have them close their eyes and I'll have them pray and ask the Spirit of truth to come. And I'll say, ask the Spirit of truth to come and encounter you the way that you best encounter him. And people will just start having intense things. I know people who will have visions. They'll hear something. They'll feel something. I don't put limits on what's going to happen. I don't create an agenda. I do it the best way that, what is it called? Bill Vanderbush would do it. He always says, Holy Spirit's like a firework. You know, you light it and you walk away. That's what you do. So I just create the space for the Holy Spirit. I have them acknowledge him, even if they don't even truly understand what's going on. And he'll come and he'll just do crazy things. In 2024 Halloween, we were actually taking apart our stuff on the streets of Salem, downtown. And
before you get to that story, so this is actually how I met my wife, Genevieve, I was preparing to go on a trip with Nick to Salem on Halloween, and I wanted to learn how to do this ministry. And so we met with a mutual friend, and we did this in Austin during ACL. And it really is quite extraordinary just to see people weeping and like experiencing this healing over their souls just in ways that they didn't know they could be free, you know, just speaking true identity over them and getting them to fall out of agreement with word curses, false identity, believing terrible things about themselves that other people have put on them. And just by even saying the words, it's amazing how much freedom someone can experience when they fall out of agreement with the lie that's been spoken over them and they replace it with the truth.
Yeah.
And so basically, I absolutely did not want to go to Salem because Nick likes spooky things. I usually avoid it. I don't watch horror movies. I have avoided that my whole life. But we were at a prayer service one time, and the whole service, I think someone spoke a word over me. I was having a pretty important thing happen with me personally. And then just at the very end, it's like I see in my mind the words just Salem, go. And I'm like, oh man, all right.
You really didn't want to go.
Yeah, I didn't. But I also was like, okay, because at that point it was just an idea that you had. And you're like, I have this crazy idea I want to do. And when you first told me, I'm like, yeah, sounds good. Have fun with that, bud. Hope it goes well for you. And then, but then I was like, well, I don't want you to go. And I do feel like you need to do this. So, and I don't want you to be alone. So, okay, Lord, I get it. I'll just go there and make sure that, you know, no one beats you up or something.
And it went great.
Yeah. What was that? Can you explain what that first year in Salem doing Halloween was for you?
With you?
With me, yeah.
I mean, it felt like a big learning experience. Just really learning, kind of trying to understand the layout of the downtown. We definitely had some really cool encounters there.
So for anyone that doesn't know, Salem like prides itself in being called the witch city. It's just full of mediums, witches, all sorts of spooky stuff, for a lack of a better term, more esoteric and just spiritualism.
Oh, yeah.
How would you describe it?
I mean, it's kind of just this hub for witchcraft, the occult, and the LGBTQ. It's very, it has just a big mixture of all this stuff. It feels, I'm not a feeler, but from what I hear,
Lucky.
but from what I hear from, most reviews, it feels dark and very dreadful. I think that's actually a better question for you. What did you feel in the streets of Salem?
Well, at first I was like, this isn't so bad. And then we walked up on the mall and I was like, oh, this is the spot. I could just feel the thick it was like thick oppression and just spiritual activity everywhere. And of course it's Halloween, so you have like imagery all over the place.
Yeah.
But it was thick on the mall. But then when we walked into the magic shop where they've got like an altar to death in the back, it was like I could feel like every item in that place felt cursed to me, like every single thing. And I was just like, I got to get out of here. This is too overwhelming. And Nick's just like chatting it up with the worker there, like, hey, how's it going? You've been working here long. Is this normal? How's this time of year?
Well, that was the thing is I didn't realize how much you were feeling things because I was like going back into shops and I realized he would just like sit out and keep in mind, this is Halloween. It was like rainy and cold. Like outside was dreadful for most people. So I was like walking, I thought he would take every opportunity to walk in a place and we'll just...
I prefer 40 degrees and wet to cursed objects.
And I started to realize that. I had to ask, I was like, why don't you come in? You're like, Nick, when these doors swing open, I can feel demonic energy fly out of them. I'm like, you're like, what are you feeling? I think I answered you and was like, Holy Spirit. I legitimately did not feel anything. And it's funny because I actually was frustrated at that prior to that trip. Because people like you, and I felt like everyone that I had encountered was like, oh, I can feel the demonic. They walk in the room and they're like, oh, my left pinky tingled. There's a Jezebel spirit here. Like people just like saying stuff. And so I didn't feel that, but I'm like, I'm so called to deliverance. What is this?
Well, that first night, when I was falling asleep, like I had a hard time sleeping, and I kept hearing in my mind this voice was just saying, Samhain, 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 and I'm like, would you shut up? Get out of here. But I had remembered that story you told me, and it is kind of connected to Salem and the spirit of Halloween. And that night, I remember kind of like trying to tell it to leave or cast it out or whatever, and it was still kind of just pestering me. And then I think I just went to the Lord. I was like, Lord, I don't know what to do. Can you just cause this thing to go away or tell me what to do? Mm-hmm. And I see this sword appear in my vision, and it's like this, the blade was just like this white light. And the more that I looked at that sword, the more I could feel that presence just flee. And it's interesting because I've, not to get off on a tangent, but I've had other instances of the Lord show me pieces of the armor of God that he lends to me.
Interesting.
And that was just kind of me experiencing something that I didn't fully understand, but I leaned into it. But I say that just to kind of tie in, like, your first experience with that demon that said Samhain, and then I'm in Salem, Massachusetts, and I'm hearing this name over and over again. But after that, every time something tried to pester me, I would just envision that sword and look at it, and it would go away.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember that first night.
You're snoozing away.
I was asleep. I felt like I was closer to heaven than I was the opposite.
So we had some interesting experiences during that.
Yeah, we met a medium randomly at while we were eating some chowder.
Oh, such a lovely girl, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's very kind.
From Ireland.
Yeah, we met a girl from Ireland that said her spirit guides told her to go to Salem, and she just so happened to sit with us, and I was able to show her our sign. I was like, "Well, what do you know? We're like mediums and we're like spiritual readers." So she's like, "Whoa, that's so cool!" So we took her outside, and we introduced her to like the spirit of truth. And if you remember, she told us that she like shivered, and she was like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
I just felt something dark leave me."
Yeah.
When she encountered him. And then we had a lot of dream interpretations in the mall.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of the one that really sealed the deal, was like towards the last night of the trip, the very last thing that happened. Do you remember what was, well, we don't need to say her name, but
no,
she came up for a dream interpretation, which is the thing that I usually like to do. But little did we know she was just kind of testing us, because there was a whole story in her own life that had happened prior to her talking to us.
Yes, she said that she had been kind of having a crisis of faith in ways, and she said it felt like so much chaos and felt cursed. And she was on a trip, and she was looking at places to go to college or school or something, and she heard a voice in her mind say, "You should go to downtown Salem." And it was Halloween night. And she says, she was like, "God, if that's you, like, I don't want to go to downtown Salem. It's Halloween. It's going to be dreadful. It's going to be so packed." And it told her to go. So she said she got in her car. She drove like an hour and 30 minutes to get there. She showed up to Salem, and she said she found parking like miraculously. Should not have found parking. Should
Like
have
a
been
guy literally like led her to a space.
got her parking, and then she said she got out of her car, and she said, "Jesus, if this is you, you've got was it an hour? Like, you've got an hour."
It's like 45 minutes.
Yeah, like you've got 45 minutes to prove it. She's walking around, and I think like 30 minutes in or something, she sees us, and she walks up to us, asks for a dream interpretation. We will interpret some of the dream, and then we end up doing like a spiritual encounter with her, and she just like recognizes that it's Jesus, because she knew that's what she was searching for. So Jesus answered her prayer there, and it was such a divine appointment.
She broke off a lot of stuff, and she was super into breaking those word curses.
Yeah.
It's like, spirit of fear, get out of here.
It was awesome. And then she actually gave us a drive back to our hotel.
Yeah, she gave us a ride home, and that kind of capped it. I remember that just being like the stamp of the Lord's approval. Like, yes, you're supposed to come here. I meet you when you step out. So that whole trip basically confirmed your call to Salem and lit a fire in you. And was it that moment that you basically decided you wanted to live there?
I actually asked the Lord to move me there before we even got to Salem. Oh. We were in the car. We were in an Uber, and we were driving, and we drove through. It was really dreary and cold, rainy, and we were driving through this forest road, and it was just so beautiful. I was like, "Lord, move me here." I was like, "Just move me here." And I heard the Lord in that moment. I remember I even told you. I heard when I said, "Lord, move me here," I heard the Lord say, "I will move you, and I will place you somewhere you cannot be moved." So which funny enough, before that, and even after that, I'd gotten not words from people, but people who did ministry in these dark places. They all kept trying to tell me, "Oh, it's really hard to get into a place like that. Oh, the devil's going to do everything he can to stop you from going there." And my actual trip into Salem, which was what, 7 months later, 8 months later, I moved.
I don't even know. I mean, my world turned upside down, so I have no recollection of that.
Well, when I ended up moving, it was such an easy transition. I had gotten a dream. I knew the Lord was like, "It's time to go," because I told the Lord, like, "I'm ready. You just send me." I felt like all these doors were closing, all in Austin, Texas. So I kind of just packed my bags, and then one of our close buddies went with me, and I just drove up to Salem. I had no job and I had no place to live, and within a month, the Lord found me everything.
Yeah.
I ended up having dreams. Like the Lord used dreams every step to like guide me. I just kept having these like little nugget dreams, and I just press into them and go, okay, Jesus, I don't understand this, but I think this is what it means, and I'm just going to pray into that. And found housing, and I found good housing. Like I'm in the middle of downtown Salem in like a beautiful spot that is, it's safe, and it's at for a great price that people are actually shocked when I tell them how much I pay and stuff. They're like, wait, how do you afford that? And then I tell them, and they're like, oh my gosh, like, well, what kind of miracle setup did you get? So absolutely, the Lord just provided. The Lord made it very clear, I want you here. And I feel like that's actually been part of how I do ministry towards the demonic in the downtown, which we don't have to get too far into that yet. But it's been
I think that's a good segue. What does life look for you now? Because you really moved there because you had a cry and a heart for ministry to do battle, but more so, just describe to me what ministry looks like for you in Salem versus even just your day to day, and how often you encounter things.
Well, I think that a lot of people, when they hear of doing ministry in Salem, they think it's going to be a battle. They think of this like warfare mindset, you're going down there, you're going to be battling the witches and the demons every 5 seconds. We got to rebuke the principalities. And no, that's not it. If that's your mindset, you're going to burn out so quickly. Your mindset when you go to Salem and do ministry really has to just be love. You're there to love the people who are living there. You're there to love the witches, love the occultists, love the psychics, love the community, love the people in the LGBTQ, and reveal truth to them. The light of the world that lives in us. And
what does that love look like to you when you say that? How can you describe personal interactions that you've had that you would call loving the witches?
Yeah, just making friends with them, genuinely making friends with them, being able to share my heart and my ministry that I have and share Jesus with them, but not in like a confrontational way, just in a way of like seeing the good, like seeing their giftings that the Lord has given them, but seeing what they actually could be used for, and
not condemning them for not knowing.
Not condemning them, because most of them are in ignorance, and just letting them know that how much Jesus loves them, whether they agree with it or not, or whether they believe it or not. And let them know, like, I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to condemn you. I'm just here to share love. And I think the love a lot of times comes out in a way of sharing my convictions of my experiences, sharing a little bit of my testimony and my conviction of like, Jesus saved my life. He set me free from this stuff. And I felt compelled to move here by his Spirit to come and love and see people set free from things. But it's not about attacking their personal beliefs or attacking what they practice. Obviously I disagree with that stuff, so I don't ever condone it, but it's not a battle. The battle was already won. And I've seen that. I've had moments of that during Halloween. Like last year, I was setting up in 2024, and I had a girl walk by, and Halloween on Salem, you've seen it. It's chaos. This girl walks by and she looks at my sign and she looks at me, because I don't look Christian. I don't look Christian in my appearance. My sign doesn't look Christian, but they can always tell. And she looked at it and she walks up to me and goes, "Can I test your energy?" And I said, "Sure." Just all smiles, like, "Sure, you can test my energy." I gave her my hand. She held my hand and she closed her eyes. She held it for about 10 seconds. And then when she opened her eyes, she actually looked terrified of me and she ran away. And it actually made me a little sad, because I yelled out, I was like, "Wait, come back. You're who I'm here for." So you get that if there's ever any battle, it seems to be because the demonic wants to puff its chest out and then just gets splat.
Or it tries to become the focus of everything.
Yes. Yeah, and I've seen so much better like encounters of healing and deliverance when I do just approach every situation with just this smile and just with this love of Jesus. And I've had most times that I have people manifest demons in downtown Salem is not when I'm looking for it, but when I'm just walking and I'm going to go do homeless ministry or something like that. And I'm just talking to the Lord and I'm just like, wow, Jesus, I just love you so much. How can I love on this person? What can I do? And then you start conversing with them. And next thing you know, they start manifesting or something. Or demons start speaking out of them. And I think one of the wildest encounters I had was actually in 2024 with a man. He was a guy I had prayed for him before. He was a homeless man. Love him. He's always very kind. But I was just feeling the love of the Lord, and I heard the Lord late September. I was walking on the street, and he said, sit next to him and talk and just love on him. So I sat next to him. I sat in front of him, and I was just like conversing for like 30 seconds. All of a sudden, I just saw that glaze over the eyes of when someone manifests, and it started acting kind of weird. And I just kind of leaned in. And I, by the way, I don't really condone talking to demons too often, but I leaned in. I was like, who am I speaking to? And he got this big grin and he went, oh, my name is Loki. And he started giggling. So then I was like, okay, Loki, your tongue doesn't work. I don't want to talk to you. I'm going to talk to the man. I talked to the man for about 30 seconds to a minute, just kind of speaking life into him, ministering to him. And all of a sudden he like shifts, like his head kind of like goes weird, and the glaze comes back and he goes, my name is Rasha. Do you know who I am? Like, it was excited to talk to me. And I just said, Rasha, I don't know who you are. Go away. I want to talk to the man. Talked to the man for another 60 seconds. And then a third demon came forward. And this demon looks at me and goes, we're intrigued by you. We have not encountered someone like you in Salem in a very long time. We saw a light in your eyes and we immediately knew you served Yeshua. And I was like, cool, go away. I want to talk to the man. And at the end of it, I was talking to the guy and I was like, you know, you have evil spirits that are speaking out of you. And he said, yeah. He said, I allow them in because they give me powers. And I was like, what powers do they give you? And he said, oh, they let me change the weather. I just looked around. I was like, okay, change the weather. Nothing happened, of course. So I said that one, they're lying to you. Or more importantly, when my feet touch the cobblestone, all the demonic activity on this street stops because I have the grace and the authority to be here. The Lord placed me in this downtown. I live here. This is my area the Lord has gifted me. And he just agreed. He just said, yeah, I think that's true. And I remember the last time I ever encountered him, I remember holding his hand and I prayed for him. And he looked at me in the eyes and he said, I wish I believed in my freedom like you believe in my freedom. So a lot of times there's people down there, and you know, all over the world, but people who are just like in these helpless loops. And I think it really happens with people in witchcraft, because a lot of times we can easily understand that with someone who's homeless. But I meet people who are in witchcraft and the occult, and they're in loops. And one of my friends back in Salem, who is an ex-witch, described it best that things are going bad in your life, so you practice witchcraft to try and get out. And you get this slight high for like a second. And then you look around and you realize you actually just dug yourself deeper. So then you do more witchcraft to try and get out. And you get this sense of this like illusion that you've gotten out. But then you look around, you were even deeper than you were. And that's kind of what happens is people are in these loops. And it's not always people who are in unfortunate financial or housing situations. It's just people wanting to better their lives. And I think that's also a misconception that Christians have, is that when they come to Salem, they think that everyone's like in these dark, you know, Satan worshiping covens. And that's just not true. You know, a lot of witches that you meet in Salem or in other cities, they're just trying to do tarot to figure out if their boyfriend's gonna, you know, move in with them or something. You know, like they're people are desperate for the supernatural, and that's what I think is the biggest thing that's going on in Salem. People have this desperation for supernatural intervention in their lives because they know that the things of the world, they have at least enough wisdom spiritually to understand that the things of the world are going to fail and are not enough.
I think you told me about a guy who had invited Lucifer into his heart.
Yes, that was recent.
That was, you were just like on your way to get some chicken or something.
Yeah, that was actually, that had been a week after Halloween. So Halloween craze is dead. Streets are empty. I'm walking on my way to go get some Korean fried chicken. That's what I have on my mind. I'm like, I'm hungry. I want some of this. This tastes good. I have this guy stop me randomly. He looks at my hoodie, and I had a hoodie on that had the Orthodox monk Trisagion prayer. Holy God, holy mighty, holy immortal, have mercy on us. And he looked at it and he goes, is that Orthodox? And I said, yeah, it's the Orthodox monk prayer. And I described it to him. And he said that he had like looked into Orthodoxy some, and he was like really curious. Well, we just start talking, and right there in the rain, he just dead cold. He tells me that at one point he thought he was transgender. At one point he thought he maybe wanted to be a vampire. He had like dabbled in vampirism, but that he believed in Jesus, but he did not know how to receive Jesus. And that at one point he had actually asked Lucifer to enter his life to guide him. And I just said, well, hey man, I'm an exorcist, and I can lead you, and I can lead you to the Lord right now. And he was like, exorcise me. Like, so he just was excited, and he just held his hands out and
Exorcise me, bro.
I just had him renounce Satan. I had him renounce curses. I just had him renounce everything that was a lie and any false identities. And I had him just speak the truth and ask Jesus. I had him declare Jesus was Lord, and Jesus was his Savior, that Jesus was King, that he was his Father. And I asked him, I had him to ask Jesus to just fill him with the Holy Spirit. And you saw him just like light up. He just got lit up and was so thankful. And I haven't seen that guy since. So, I hope he's okay.
Do you have like ongoing relationships with people? Do you see progress? Do you see regression?
Some of them, yeah. Some of them I've seen it kind of go back and forth. Depends on, there's only so much. I think that some people don't understand. There's only so much you can do in those situations. I'm really against, when I do my evangelism, I'm really against the whole strong arming someone into like a sinner's prayer and then just being like, praise God, you're with the Lord, and like walking away. Like, I see myself more as like a seed planter, seed waterer, than I am than like trying to always seal the deal. Cause I want, and I have people that in that moment, like that guy, who do want to come to the Lord, but I want it to be because they feel ready for it. I'd rather not leave someone with a delusion, thinking that like.
So what is your current approach to street ministry in particular, and how has that evolved and changed over time? Like, how have you matured in that?
I mean, honestly, it looks very similar than what it used to. A lot of it's out of my hands. I try and keep in contact with people who will want to keep in contact, but sometimes people aren't interested. They have beautiful encounters, and then they go, thank you, but thank you so much. And, I always try and give them the gospel, but some people are just like, Jesus, I don't know how I feel about Jesus right now.
But your methods have pretty much stayed the same from the beginning?
Yeah, I'd say for the most part. I think the only thing that's different is that the Lord has started to teach me how to be more fluid, even when I don't have a sign. Just being able to have conversations with people randomly. And, even a couple
kind of being prepared at any moment.
Yes. Prepared in season, out of season. I don't need my sign. I don't need a special, pre-prayer to encounter people and lead them into an encounter with the Lord, which I feel like is probably my biggest conviction. Like, one of my biggest convictions is probably, how do I see it? Like, feel that in my day to day, no matter what I'm doing, whether I'm working or I've got the day off, I pray and ask the Lord that I would be a walking thin place. That when people come to encounter with me, that they have an opportunity to encounter Jesus, whether that's just through conversation, just through a smile, or whatever it may be. And I think that a lot of times in spiritual warfare circles, I think we forget how impactful a smile can be towards somebody. Just a kind gesture can be, how that can break off darkness in areas, that can break off darkness off people. And that is what I believe Salem needs more of. I don't think Salem needs these, the biggest churches or these big crusades. Not that I'm against those things, but I think Salem just needs more Christians who are willing to just do life there, and their lights start to just erase the shadows.
Is it a good idea for people to come to Salem for ministry, on just from out of town, coming in for the weekend, for these holidays, just to kind of see the spectacle, but also minister to people?
I'd say yes and no. I'd say I think yes, because that's how I even got introduced to Salem. So it'd be hypocritical for me to say no. But I think you need to make sure that you're actually going for the right reasons. I know that, Salem is very susceptible to churches showing up on Halloween. They're never there any other time, but they show up on like Halloween weekend or whatever, and hold signs up telling people they're just going to go to hell. They've got bullhorns and they're just yelling at people, or they're trying to cause trouble with the witches. And my advice to that is this, in the famous political words of Kamala Harris, don't come. Just,
I don't even remember what that was in reference to. We don't need to talk about that at all. You're telling people don't come to Salem?
If you are coming there to start a war, and you're coming there because you think that you are going to go fist fight the devil, and you're going to play some special worship song, and there's going to be a mass crusade of witches, and that you're going to have some Harry Potter battle on the street, don't come. That's not what we need. We need people who are going to show up and love, genuinely love on the people in that city.
Have you ever doused anyone or anything with oil?
No. I've thought about it. You have
thought about it.
I've thought about buying a super soaker and just.
Well, one of the funny things to me was, like, on our trip, you just felt impressed to go touch everything. Kind of like you did with that first encounter you had. Just touch him. And he started manifesting and doing all these things. We're walking, the Yellow Line Trail in Salem, which is like the tourist line. And you're just touching like every door, every post, which I don't know how sanitary that is, but in the spirit realm, it's probably very sanitary.
I do probably still do that a lot. I try and touch a lot of things.
So tell me, if someone does want to come to Salem to do ministry, what is the right approach?
I would contact a couple different churches. I would contact a church called The Breach in downtown. I would contact the Methodist Church in downtown. There's a few churches. I would even contact Netcast, which is a little bit out of the town, but there are some churches there that genuinely love the city and have a heart for it, and they do outreach, and they do it in a fun way. Like, they'll do it, I've even had some of them join me, and I think it's important when you're going to a town like that not to go with this arrogance, thinking that you just have it all, especially if you're going to try and do anything that's like big. Connect with the churches and see what they're doing. See how you can get involved. And I've just seen so many bad situations now. Like, even being there just for the last 3 Halloweens. So many bad things.
Have you seen anybody come in and do it well?
That was just visiting?
Yeah.
That didn't already have experience there?
Well, even just like outside, like you mentioned Netcast, what is their approach? Do they come in Halloween?
Well, they came in with me. So yeah, they came in with the exact correct way.
So basically you need to find a church that's going to get a hold of Nick, and then he'll tour you around into the magic shops and death altars and have you touch everything.
Yeah, so this is the shop Hex. This is the... No.
All right. So, Nick, you are like a part-time barista at the moment, but mostly you are welcome and open to accept donations to help your ministry.
Yes.
How can someone give you a one-time or even support you monthly?
Well, there is my Instagram, vindicated_Nick H, or you can go to mosaicglobal.org and you can go to donate to most needed. And in the notes, just put to Nicholas.
So follow you on Instagram at
Yes.
Vindicated Ministries?
Vindicated_Nick H.
Nick, okay.
Yeah, we can do all that.
And then to give to you, go to Mosaic.
Yes. Or if you don't care about it being tax deductible, you can always give to my Venmo that's on my Instagram.
All right. Nick, thank you so much, my good friend.
Yes.
This was an excellent time.
It was.
Good podcast. Thank you for watching so much. Oh, my producer has some questions.
What is the most interesting place that you've taken communion?
Let me ask that question in case they don't hear it. My wife just asked, what is the most interesting place you've taken communion?
What a great question. Well, I'll make this story quick. September of this year, I had a good close friend. He's also one of your friends. Randomly, just divinely come and visit me in Salem. And this is actually the guy who taught me how to do this style of ministry. And we were just doing ministry all over the town for a couple days, and we got it confirmed to us 3 times that we needed to go to the Satanic Temple, which the Satanic Temple headquarters is in Salem. It is not a witch coven like some people think. Yes, they attract some of that stuff, but they're more like a political religious organization. And we got it confirmed to us 3 times we needed to go to this. It was a comedy night and an open house. So we prayed and we're like, all right, we're going. On our way there, because we can walk there, it's a 10-minute walk from my house. He is like, let's stop at this convenience store really quick. We go inside. I already know what he's going to get. He grabs some grape juice and he grabs some some crackers. And I'm like, oh man, okay, I see what's happening. So we get to the Satanic Temple. There's tons of people there. We're walking around it and we're praying. And then we go into the room that they have the Baphomet statue, which if you don't know who Baphomet is, he's like the goat god that a lot of Satanists and witches, he's a big symbol of like perversion. And they have this big statue that has 2 children on it and then has him. And you can actually sit in his lap, which I didn't sit in his lap. Well, right there in front of everyone, my friend is like, let's take communion. He's like, but I'm going to do it in Hebrew. So he starts praying in Hebrew for communion. So people have no idea what we're saying. Probably think he's doing witchcraft or something. And we take the body and then we take the blood. And I hear the Lord say, I want you to lay hands on the statue. So I lay my hands on the statue and I just pray against it. And then towards the end, because I don't imagine anyone from that circle will ever watch this that would have any idea of who we're talking about or anything. My friend told me, go outside. He's like, I'm going to do something. And he's like, I feel like because you live here, you should not do it. He's like, I know you're going to want to, so go outside. And I was like, okay. So I was obedient. I went outside and I waited for him. And of course I'm sitting there thinking like, oh man, he's doing something cool. He's doing something cool that could get him in trouble. And I want to do it too. Well, he comes back out and he's like, let's leave. And he's not like, hurry, leave, but he's like, let's kind of leave. So we start leaving. We start walking and I just look at him like, what'd you do? He's like, well, I prayed over that communion. And he's like, I got some of it in my mouth and I swished it around and I spat all down the back of the Baphomet statue. And I busted out laughing. And of course I was a little sad that I didn't get to do it, but it made sense. I lived there and I don't want to ever get caught. Well, first of all, I won't, but I don't ever want to get caught or anything vandalizing something in a city like that. But if you're a missionary, I wouldn't suggest it, but But he did say, lastly, he did say that was one of the most evil, concentrated places he's ever been in his entire life. And this is a guy that had traveled all over the world under witches and warlocks and gurus and monks.
Houston, Texas.
So when he walked in that room, he was like, this is the real deal. He's like, this is one of the most evil places I've ever been. And I mean, yeah, they're a very evil organization. They're like trying to battle Texas right now to make abortions a religious right. So, and just outright saying it's a sacrifice. So
At least they're honest about it.
yeah, no, I think that's what's so evil about them. There's not even any deception going on. They're just like, yeah, we're evil. And they even held a panel last year that they were trying to figure out how to, basically how to like start abolishing Christianity in America. So, but yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
Any more questions?
Oh, sorry.
Just on a personal note, what are some of your favorite things to do in Salem?
Drink coffee.
Is it good coffee?
I don't know what good coffee is. I drink sugar coffee. I would say drink coffee and just talk to the locals and just walk around. I don't get bored of walking around that downtown. It's not too big.
It is beautiful.
But
a lot of cobblestone.
It's just such a beautiful place to walk. Yeah, that's what I'd say. It's very simple things.
How often do you get chowder?
Honestly, not that often.
Oh.
I don't
You just wait till you come to visit my mom for chowder?
Yeah, I come back to Texas to get some chowder. No, I've had it a few times. I get it, but I think I probably end up eating fish and chips more than I end up eating chowder. That's acceptable as well.
And you love the cold weather, snow, fall leaves.
It's something about it. So much better than this humid, hot weather you guys got that I grew up in.
Yeah. All right.
Being a local now, but have you ever had an encounter that made you feel endangered?
Physically endangered?
However you interpret that.
I have had a guy before that I was ministering to that started manifesting some, and the love of Jesus actually was triggering that. Talking about the love of Jesus was triggering that. And he threatened to pull out a box cutter and cut and slit his own throat. And I prayed in that moment and I asked the Lord, I trusted the Lord. I wasn't necessarily scared for my life, but I was like, Lord, what do I do? And I heard the Lord just say, de-escalate and simplify. Love this man in a different way. Don't talk to him in a spiritual way. And what I did was I de-escalated. I just said, hey man, we don't have to talk about that. Like, I'm just here to love on you. I'm not trying to cause problems. And he calmed down a little bit, but he was still really heated. And then I went and I told him I was going to go get some money. And I left and I came back with $40. And I don't think he actually expected me to come back. And he started to actually cry and like wanted to give me a hug. And even from there, actually let me like hold his hand and bless him like with a little prayer. Cause he was against prayer at first, but that actually opened the door. Something, not that money should always be the answer, but there was something about me doing something in the natural that actually probably a lot of people tell him they're going to do and don't, that opened his heart. And, it was a good moment. I actually still talk to that guy, and I wouldn't necessarily say he's like a Christian, but I would say that I know he's encountered the Lord before, and he is a much better place mentally than he was when I first met him. He's been a slow progress, but every time I see him, try and love on him, and he's a good guy. So.
And you being in ministry up there, do you go to church? Do you go regularly?
Oh yeah, I serve at a church. I serve at a church called Netcast, and I'm newer there, but I'm pretty much there any chance I can.
And do you favor one denomination, or how do you operate?
They're a non-denominational church. If anyone that knows me, or you can even see my shirt or see my knuckles or anything, and I definitely have a very big love for the Orthodox Church, but unfortunately cannot join because
Of the tattoos?
well, I can't become the priesthood because of that, but I can't join because of...
because of your Orthodox tattoos.
Yeah, my Orthodox tattoos have locked me out of the Orthodox. But I would say if I had to favor a denomination, it would probably be the Orthodox. And I do hang out at an Orthodox church up there, and I love them to death. Priest is amazing, great people, but I don't feel called to actually join. And there are some hurdles that would prevent me from effectively being in ministry if I did join, due to how their hierarchy is. So, awesome. Well, yeah, okay, I'll say it again. Thank you guys for having me on. And this was great.
Thanks for being here.
Of course.
Love you, Nick.
Love you guys too.
Thanks for watching.